Good morning, Final Fantasy Randomizer. It's me, Maddie, your lovely host for our continued Rando Marathon for Winter 2024 in support of the Burn Children's Fund and all of their amazing mission to development of... Yeah, it's an early morning, you can tell. Either way, we're here with it is the Final Fantasy VI Beyond Chaos, I believe. I actually was signed on for this with a different game in mind, so this is going to be an interesting for me one. I actually don't know much about this, so I'm really looking forward to our runners telling us about it as we continue to raise money for the Bird Children's Fund and hopefully hit their goal where they had a 50% increase in campers from 2024, and they're aiming for another 66% increase, which is 50 whole kids, and we're supporting 6 of that so far. Every $500 is another kid, so the more that we can get, the happier I and the charity are going to be. But without further ado, I'm going to hand it off to our runners to get started on this amazing classic game run.
Oh, baby.
Hello, good morning, good time zone, good game. Let's do this.
Yeah, the sun is rising, and I cannot see it because it's cloudy for the nth day in a row. Huzzah.
Outstanding. Happy December, everybody.
I know I just handed it over, but do you guys have time for a very quick donation that came in? Because it
Oh,
is
do it.
mildly important.
Oh yeah.
So we do have $100 from Falconic to finish off all the FFR incentives and put the remaining $17 towards naming someone Falk in Final Fantasy VI, preferably Edgar.
Falk? All right.
We can do that. We can do
We'll
that.
have to tell the runners about
Yeah,
that.
we'll have to tell the runners that.
I'll type that in now.
Yeah. So, welcome everybody. I am Muppets in Space. With me here, we've got Cecil 188 and Fuso. Yeah.
It is the correct pronunciation.
It is. There's a bit of an accent to it. I don't know if you could heard. But runners Dark/88, Fathlo 23. We're doing Beyond Chaos. It's a little bit different than your normal FF6 runs. Worlds Collide as it is. This is not an open world. This is a linear randomizer, and as such, it's going to look kind of like your classic Kefka at Narsh, except we're actually going to the Ultros 2 fight in the opera.
Yeah, and that's it's roughly about 1/4 to 1/5 of the original game. The speed run I think of this is something like 4 hours or in that of the full vanilla game. So you're getting a nice slice of the randomizer and all the capabilities that's built in. There's a lot of flags and a lot of content, and hopefully you guys will be enjoying a good bit of that in this run.
So the basics is that Beyond Chaos being a linear randomizer, everything except the story is randomized. So you pour in all of the stats, treasures, character names, sprites. You do all that. You pour all that into a blender. It goes, and then you pour it back into the game, and out comes a new seed. And
Sorry, I just need to interrupt real quick. Can you repeat how that goes again? I missed the.
Oh yeah. Sorry. It goes.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
It's a very, very fast but very, very thorough blending of everything.
All right,
But yeah, you can start as normal with Terra and a Magitech armor.
Well, it will probably not be Terra, but we'll see who it is in just a moment. Should I get them started?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there are a couple of unique things to this randomizer that you're going to see that don't really appear functionally in the base game. If you're familiar with Beyond Chaos, there are special skill sets that pull from all of the known skills, your Fire 3, Fire Beam, etc. You can have random targeting, ice, fire, thunder, all sorts of classifications of things, monster skills. And that is it's unique, but it's also standard to the original Beyond Chaos randomization. But here, there are actually a couple of other things that you can see if they are in their menus at all for any appreciable amount of time.
That is actually fairly standard. Usually the first thing that people do is to jump into the menu, adjust any settings, make sure that Demon Chocobo is, prominently displayed, and then also we'll go through their skill sets just to see, what the randomizer has given them in terms of commands and other types of stats.
So commands and stats, if you have any appreciable difference between what you normally expect from equipment, there is a flag that shows a little question mark next to the name of the thing. Say you have leather hat question mark. You look at it, inspect it as it were, and it turns out that that leather hat teaches float. That's sort of what the question mark is about, is giving you a heads up that, hey, there's something uniquely different about this.
Yeah, and it's something that is actually significant. There are a number of minor changes across equipment, like giving an extra 2 speed or minus 10 evade or what have you, but those aren't flagged with the question mark because they're not really that important in the grand scheme of things. The question mark is reserved for really, really fundamentally different changes about how the item will actually play out when you use it.
But speaking of symbols, there are other changes that were made to equipment that is denoted with a different symbol, an exclamation mark.
And that's just because we're really enthusiastic about that equipment. No, sorry, that's not right.
Also, yeah, if we could get the timers going, it'll be slick. Yeah, so the exclamation point, that's a whole new can of worms, relatively recent in... There we go, there they go. Relatively recent in Beyond Chaos's development cycle, and they correspond to a mechanic that we call junctions. It's not really exactly the same as the FF8 mechanic by the same name, but the idea of junctions is that it grants a whole bunch of new passive effects to various items, and I believe there's about 170 of these junctions to choose from.
Oh my goodness, I didn't realize it was that many.
Yeah, you can see my pain trying to tabulate all of them and keeping them all in track and whatnot. There's just a huge spreadsheet of them all, and it's like I have to do all the wording and all
The last time that we had done this, we actually hadn't, so the creator of the flag specifically requested from the community that no one go in and reveal what all of the different junctions did, that we had to figure it out on our own. And the last time we did this, we actually didn't have the full list. Do we have the full list now?
We've got about 90%, 90 to 95% of them known. There are a few added relatively recently, so we don't have a lot of data on them yet, but we've got a couple of them at least. But yeah, the idea of functions or junctions is that they add new passive effects that don't have a way to do that in the original game. So, for instance, you can have junctions that double the amount of magic points you get so that you learn spells twice as fast. We already had double EXP and double GP, double money in the original game, and so because of that, we don't have junctions for those because we don't need them. So, but the junctions we do have are all completely new effects that make sense, but are things that help balance the game to bring things into viability that weren't before. One thing that is typically clowned on are things like the Quake spell, which hit everybody, or the Crusader summon, which hit everybody, including your own characters. And typically those are seen as relatively unusable options compared to the much more simple to employ ideas, but there are junctions that can change the targeting of those spells to only hit the enemies, so they bring those spells into being useful again. And you can see many such ideas across just the overall landscape of Final Fantasy VI's battle system that help improve how useful a bunch of things are.
And this is kind of indicative of the overall, I think, thrust of how this randomizer is set up, where I think certainly Dark Slash is a big roguelike player, and many of the main adherents of the game are also roguelike enjoyers. I think myself and Cecil and Muppets are included in that, and
Absolutely.
and this is a lot of what you're seeing, that it started off as kind of a base randomizer, and as it's evolved over what must be now more, somewhere approaching 8-9 years now, that Final Fantasy VI has been in effect turned into much closer to a roguelike experience that's layered on top of a very beloved and structured game. So you're also seeing at this moment, so both Dark Slash and Fathlo are in the Narsh escape sequence in the multi-party battle. This was something that Final Fantasy VI introduced into the series. They both know the way to kind of navigate their way through the various incoming invasion force, and they've successfully skipped past all of that to going straight to the boss. A couple of the things you probably will notice, we mentioned a few of the things that are randomized, but you can see that the enemy sprites are randomized, that the character sprites are randomized, the music is randomized, the commands and everything that we talked about are randomized, the stats and attributes of the weapons and equipment are randomized. We have several flags that are active, so we've covered junctions and things like that. That's a relatively new addition. A few things that maybe are not as new, and I don't think that they will have a huge impact on the run, but they could have a few critical kind of time saves or what have you, is Esper Allocator. I'm not sure if that's actually on right now, but many people do run this when they run it in like permadeath, like a full game mode. They'll have Esper Allocator on, where and just as you would have in, say, like Worlds Collide, the Espers themselves are randomized with their magic spells, and so we will see a little bit of that. We could potentially see a little bit of that if that's enabled to begin.
Ooh.
Dark Slash has just found his first monster in a boss, and
Brutal.
news is that Siegfried is not a big problem. He'll kind of wave a wet noodle at them and then run away. But it does cost Dark Slash a little bit of time there.
Yeah, with all of the dialogue boxes and everything, this is actually kind of a rough moment for Dark Slash, having to just sit there.
Yeah, I was thoroughly enjoying when that showed up on my test run. I was like, oh, that's good. I hope somebody opens that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the monster in the boxes are sort of redistributed across the various chests that are openable. The pool for them includes both the monster in the boxes that are normally in the game, plus a few surprises. I'm not sure how far we amped up the potential difficulty on that, but you can see some pretty nasty encounters, including late game bosses. And if you're really lucky, you may even find the custom created per seed super boss in a monster in a box.
That's right. There are some unused enemy formations in the base game that actually get pulled into some either random encounters or monster in a boxes. and you can get some pretty nasty surprises. What is there's a dragon that was originally programmed that is not in the base game. Cecil, am I hallucinating that?
There's the infamous Tsar dragon.
Our dragon, yes.
Yeah. There's also the I can't remember what it's called. It's like a swap of the Gigantos. I don't remember what it's called. Let me just
Well, it was at the Colossus. Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
That's right. Yeah, you're right. So then finally there is a dummied Umaro, which only has like 1,000 health, and based on all the context around it, it is theorized that it was intended to be a boss fight during Bandon's scenario. But that enemy is also dummied, so those 3 enemies can become super bosses, and they're often difficult to find, but especially I think it's the Tsar Dragon one ends up being like the really, really ridiculous super boss. If you kill it, you generally get a ridiculous amount of rewards.
My personal favorite for the formations, and I think at least one of them shows up in the seat or in the game itself, is the 6-time ice dragon, where rather than just one ice dragon, there's 6 of them. And then the other one is, go ahead.
I believe it's 5, but
It's
yeah,
5,
it's
okay.
still
Well,
ridiculous.
It's the same formation as the Vector, if you're familiar with the specific enemies from the very end game area. And then there's also a 4x Guardian fight, which I thought is also just hilarious because the game literally cannot render it because the Guardian sprite is so large.
Yeah, it's not intended to be placed in an encounter formation that has 4 medium-sized... Like, the encounter formation is 4 medium-sized enemies, but Guardian is a larger enemy, so it just gets... The data just gets garbled. Which is fun.
So what we've got right now is a little bit of a shopping trip. Typically speaking, in a speed run, the only time that you spend in South Figaro is spent getting some sprint shoes and then running out to Mount Colts. But because of the randomization, we've got a lot more of the shopping. Checking out each of the shops, making sure, especially in the opening, that you can get some semblance some semblance of healing items. Fathel just found out that he blew all of his cash on tonics and cannot take the chocobo up to Mount Colts.
Yeah, the fun part of
it's a short walk.
Is that all the shops are double price.
Yeah.
And Dark/Slash found the monster box.
Yep.
He's just gonna reset out of that.
That'll be a reset right there. It's a bit of a time sink.
I will tell you, he's not missing out on much from that monster box. It was not worth the time I spent beating it.
And one thing they're also looking for in the shops is any other, potentially helpful breakable items and things like that. So super balls and other things that might have a break effect that they're aware of. So they haven't been closely checking them, but if the weapon does have a significant modification, through that question mark or exclamation point, then it's possible that it could break for a useful spell or proc a useful spell, and that's also something that they may try to check in on.
And to kind of extrapolate on that a little bit, if you're familiar with Worlds Collide, you understand the value of breaking shields and rods for the level 2 and level 3 elemental spells. Beyond Chaos randomizes this to be a possibility on just about any equipable item, but also expands the list of spells that you can break that item for. So its potential to have leather hats that break for rasp and a Magus hat that breaks for bolt or something like that. And those can actually play a significant role in the speed with which you get through things, because it still follows the same format of breaking items in the base game, where you're using the item command, so it ignores defense.
So if it
Alright,
does show up on a
Bathos made
cap,
it
would
to
you call it
Vargas.
popping your cap?
I'm sorry.
Said if it shows up on a
Now,
cap, would you make it popping your cap?
It's kind of. So
Now we got Vargas, which is always a fun time.
So to go to the skills for a little bit, you see Rage and Throw, which are pretty standard, pretty common, but you also saw Phoenix in there and Life Shaver. So yeah, the game can actually randomize a couple of different additional things in there, replacing your sword techs and your steals and stuff with different sort of set of things. It can go up to and including 9 times skills, so you could have 9 times bolt. You could also have enemy skills, espers as skills, and you can have combination skills where you have Fire 3 Warp or something like that, and it would have its own set of targeting attributed to it.
yeah, personal favorite is 2x or any even multiple of reverse polarity. That's literally the tap to untap of
That's
PC.
right. A little something for all of you Magic the Gathering players out there. So Pablo Percent versus Vargas. Now, a lot of the bosses that you see in this game, they tend to follow the same format, unless you have a specific flag on called random bosses. But Vargas doesn't really get touched by that because it can be such a stone wall. You're so restricted. You usually just get the same setup from him with his punch, double punch, and gale cut.
And just to note, the game doesn't do you any favors here in terms of beating Vargas. I mean, if you're familiar with the vanilla run, the quickest way to beat Vargas is to hit him with a blitz, and that's still in there. But as you've seen, you may not have that available. So in many cases, the reason that Vargas is such a stonewall is because you have to beat him the normal way. Unless you just get lucky and have the blitz command or the pummel command as a command change.
But you've got Exploder, so what could go wrong?
Yeah, Exploder is quite the versatile skill.
It can be used literally in any situation.
I actually had the Showstopper level 5 Doom as well, so that did
Ooh.
absolutely nothing.
So the one thing about Vargas in this particular setting that's different from the vanilla setting is in the vanilla setting, it would take way too long to actually punch Vargas down to death by normal ways, damage. So it's programmed to have him do the disappearing thing with the dialogue box after being pummeled. But in Beyond Chaos, because we know that it's possible, even probable, you're not going to get pummel, there is actually a hit point total that is achievable with Vargas, so you can just kill him normally, which you saw over there in Fathlow's stream.
Interestingly enough, it looks like that.
The shield of disappointment there. He broke the flame shield instead of fire 3. It did takedown.
Oh!
I mean, takedown is nice, but it already ignores defense. So when you want when you get an item break, you want it to generally be a strong spell that respects defense, because item breaks ignore defense. And so if it were fire 3, it would have been about twice as powerful as the takedown.
Also,
So
unfortunately, it doesn't hit
right.
flying enemies either, so it's kind of a double whammy. Now, if you are paying very close attention, you may have noticed that there is something else a little bit different about Fathlow's walk there, in terms of going from the Colts up to the Returner's hideout. The entrance to the hideout actually was in a different place.
Yeah, it's a little
Um,
further north.
yeah, there's some intentionality to that, and that's because one of the flags that is enabled is this one. Is this Strange Journey, or is this
The scenario not taken.
scenario not taken? Thank you.
We don't speak of Strange Journey.
I love Strange Journey.
And the scenario not taken actually does. So we mentioned that for the most part the story is kept intact and the linearity of the narrative is maintained, and that is still true, except that this flag actually does change around the structure of the scenarios a bit. So you're going to see a couple of different things happen from what you might expect from a normal Final Fantasy VI run.
From my remembrance, this was actually from a very specific ROM hack, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that would be Divergent Paths.
Divergent Paths, thank you.
And
Yeah.
it was made that way to balance the length of the scenarios and the amount of people in each. And I just realized from Fathlow's stream that Ben has an offering. No wonder his sword tech was so bad. I was like, why is he so bad? The whole run, why is he so bad?
Oh.
Yeah, I did not see Magnitude 8 on the river.
Oh. So, there are lots of reasons why people decry Beyond Chaos, and you're looking at one of them right now. The monsters and their scripts, etc., get shuffled quite a bit. There is a tiny little jellyfish in the Snake River in Sabin's scenario that infamously counters non-fight commands with Gigavolt, and that typically ends up getting swapped around in this particular river onto another enemy with perhaps a similar function like Magnitude 8. And you can see that just randomly popping up from time to time, too. It is nasty.
We have three rules in running permadeath Beyond Chaos, and really they're good rules for life in general. And the first one is always be floating.
Always be floating. Mm-hmm. So Fathlow is off to a screaming lead right now. Ended up doing a lot of running, but also avoided a couple of key monster in a boxes. Didn't do any looting in the Returner's hideout as well. And it looks like Dark Slash is actually taking the time to go into the back room to loot all of the chests in this back room area, which you would normally see in, say, an any percent glitchless run. You wouldn't necessarily see it in a Kefka at Narsh run, though.
Unfortunately, it's a bunch of garbage in this scene.
Garbage and monster in boxes, and that's that's very indicative of the play styles. Like the Dark Slash is very careful, very thorough, tends to prepare for things as much as he can, and then Fathlow is a bit more aggressive, and he tends to take a few risks, and so you're getting a nice contrast in kind of the approaches on how you can attempt Beyond Chaos with your impertinence.
So I will point out a couple of things here in addition to what we've already pointed out, and one of them is a flag that is on called Memento Mori. That is attributing an inherent relic to each character. It is unique to them as far as being equipped. So one of Fathlow's characters has an innate Moogle charm on, which is going to serve him quite nicely through one of the scenarios. But what it ends up doing is it ends up putting a relic and all of those attributes of that relic onto a character that you cannot take off, which has its ups and downs, because sometimes you can get yourself a little old relic ring.
Classic relic ring stapled to the character's forehead, which makes it so that essentially all healing inverts, and you cannot revive the character in combat. So that character ends up becoming incredibly difficult to use to any sort of efficacy, and Yeah, we kind of have it on rare for a reason. Some relics are more common than others to be on the characters innately. Relic Ring is deliberately a rare one because reasons.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, plasma's a thing.
Yup. Tentacle in this particular seed got replaced by plasma. Ouch.
Yeah, this is where I thanked my lucky stars that this seed happened to start at level 8.
Mm.
That extra several levels over the average makes a huge difference in a number of places. And what the heck?
That's
I
a thing that could happen.
can't say I ever threw a mithril knife, but they break and proc Harvester, which is frustrating because I was procking it constantly. It was like, oh, you want to fight this enemy? Here's 8 Harvester procs in a row.
Yeah.
And now I get and Harvester is a spell that is typically supposed to be used on the party. It functions identically to Remedy, pretty much. It's not very useful as a proc, and but when you throw a weapon, it inherits the targeting from anything that it might break for, and because Harvester is a spell that is intended to be used on the party, if you throw the mithril knife, it will now target the entire party. So that's cool. Can't say I ever tried to throw a mithril knife. Kind of glad I didn't.
So we got a little wet noodle percent over here in Fathlow's stream, and it's actually allowed Dark Slash to catch up significantly. Although Dark Slash is starting out with Falk on the floor.
It's tough because Falk is the one with Phoenix, so...
Oh, yikes.
It's like playing Dr. Dodgeball without a doctor. He's just kind of... He may find that he has to do a little space-time rewind and go back to an earlier save when Falk was still alive.
I'm guessing that they didn't see any Phoenix Downs anywhere.
I think one shop has them, but they're double price, and the seed is already expensive on them, so I think they're like $15.60. So you can buy one at best, probably.
Yeah, I saw dried meat for 540 gold.
Yep, yeah, the shops are very unforgiving in this seed.
It's an expensive Slim Jim.
Oh yeah.
So this might actually be advantageous. Well, maybe not. This might be advantageous for Dark Slash because he tends to prepare a little bit more. He might have a better chance in this fight. But Ultros looks like, in addition to turning into a very lovely looking centipede, is also a jerk.
Yeah, his special is also not a damageless blind special anymore. It's like damage times 5 or something. I don't catch the exact numbers, but it kept dropping people. I was like, thanks, that's what I really needed in a fight like this.
Yeah, Fathlo seems to be able to keep up with this, mostly due to having Phoenix available, and and as you probably didn't notice there, but so Bannon is it's the same thing as normal in vanilla. He has something called the VIP flag, which means that if he goes down, the game is over. And he was the last one to go down there, so you probably didn't notice it. But that can be very tricky on the river, and also later on in the scenario.
So we're talking about play styles just a little bit ago. Fathlow being a pretty experienced speedrunner first and foremost. Talk about Dark Slash's play style a little bit, who tends to be a tad more prepared for things, and a lot of that comes from a method of running Beyond Chaos in the community in general that is more common than it should be, which is permadeath, which is essentially if you game over, it is self-imposed. If you game over, you scrap the seed, re-randomize a new seed, and start over from the beginning, and you play it blind. It is what started out as kind of a meme challenge run that actually has shown itself to be semi-moderately, little bit viable. A few people have done it, actually completed a seed permadeath, and it is not easy.
It's also not recommended to try out the game like that. Like this has so many different options and so many different ways to play the game that you really want to explore those first and enjoy all of the different things that the game has to offer before you subject yourself to Dark Souls like frustration.
That being said, if you are going to do permadeath, making sure to be thorough, be prepared, anticipate, and understand aspects of the base mechanics of the game. That goes a long way to helping survivability and making sure that you can get through it. Fathlo, speaking of that, is gotten through the Ultros fight finally, and is now on to what appears to be Terra's scenario.
Yeah, what
There's
I like
no
about
Edgar.
the Seed and that Ultros fight is that there's a lot of stuff there that is not just damage. So people were using Phoenix, people were using Cure, people were using maybe Life Shaver, and it really shows a different side where offense isn't everything, and that is true in permadeath as well. Defense is critical in Beyond Chaos in general, but even more so in permadeath, and it shows that, hey, you can have a context here where it's not just hit most powerful spell button. So there's a lot of extra strategy and nuance that you will hopefully see across the run in that regard as well.
Yeah, to harp on the differences between a vanilla run and this a little bit more to expound on what Cecil was saying. Typically speaking, in a vanilla speed run, you're going to get a bunch of earrings, you're going to learn some spells, and you're going to fry all sorts of enemies in front of you because magic is king. Similar truth, magic damage is definitely more advantageous than physical damage in this particular game, but survivability is the most advantageous thing because you just never know what you're going to get.
In this side of things, I mean, I just to kind of randomly note, so all of the bugs from the absolutely perfectly programmed vanilla base game
Never
have
was
more
a
or less
problem.
been fixed. There never was a problem. I don't know what you're talking about. And so in things like all of the evade bug and things like that, those are all they're not viable in this, and they wouldn't be used in that way.
The fact that Rise of Paz has used stop here, that's just excellent. Definitely didn't see that one either.
Really
I also
rude.
do love that Rizzy's sprite swap is perfectly just aligned with the theme here.
Oh
Yeah,
my
it's just gonna
goodness.
fit.
Sweet Whirl.
He's a little guy. Yeah, especially this Vanish, which I think the characters in this party actually have enough magic evade to occasionally dodge stop, and this will just completely prevent that possibility for the Vanish, because Vanish means that incoming spells are guaranteed to hit in most cases, so yeah, now Pablo 1 cannot dodge stop, so that'll be fun if that happens. Hey, Dark Slash is taking out Ultros as well.
So we're back to wet noodle percent over here. Fathlo using those mithril knives and... Oh, Bolt? Okay. But we noticed that it's Terra and Bannon against Rizapaz, which is not necessarily the common setup against that enemy, and this is part of the scenario not taken.
This was you're seeing on Dark Slash's screen, sort of the immediate jump into Barren Falls, straight from the Leith River. So that's the first indication that something is not quite the same from the vanilla experience.
Now, the Rizapaz fight works in a similar way to vanilla here, where there is a timer that's going, and while you are not in the menu, once that timer is elapsed and all of the piranhas are dead, Rizzy will show himself, but I believe that timer is randomized. The value of that timer is randomized to be anywhere between 30 and 60 seconds.
I thought it was 60 and 90, but yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Pablo 4 has entered the building.
Pablo percent.
Let's see, is
Ugh.
Fathel going to go to Mobliz, or is he just going to straight up skip the entire town? We shall see. Looks like he's going to skip it.
Yeah.
That is not the path of a man who wants to be in Mobliz. Path of someone who wants to get out of there.
Yeah. Mobliz has a couple of good things going for it. There's a clock that you can open up. Usually has an elixir. Could be randomized to have something as useful as a charm bangle in it. But there's also the the injured lad from Miranda, who after you spend 2,500 gold and talk to him a bunch, he gives you a Tintina bar. And that is also something that is randomized to be something else. Could give you something useful. It's a lot of time. We're running. We're trying to go. So Fathlo says, screw that. Jump into the river.
It'd be interesting to see if Darkslash does decide to take that little detour. He may feel that he's a little bit behind, and he is, be due to the a couple of the monster in the boxes and the deaths. So he may also decide to make that choice, but. It could also be that he does decide to go into Mobilis and he finds something like, a nice break or a nice set of items or such to give him a little bit more of an edge going into, Kefka Narsh or the later parts of the run.
It is notable that even though Darkslash has been very, very thorough and going through a lot more things than Fathlo, he's not that far behind. He's had a little bit more in his inventory to handle these fights than Fathlo has. So Fathlo was essentially poking Rizapaz with a stick for a little bit of time, and Darkslash actually had throwables, things that he could chuck at Rizapaz to make the fight significantly faster, and so that made up probably 45 seconds to a full minute right there, and now he's not necessarily on Fathlo's heels, but definitely caught up a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, I accidentally did that scenario last, so I had a bunch of throwables too, and that definitely does help a lot. Even the scenario order matters, and it'll be interesting to see if they find the scenario that I found difficult to be much easier, because there's one scenario that was...
He's trying to remember how many Pablos. It's like, is this Pablo 3, 4, 5?
Just that moment of hesitation.
That's brilliant. I'm so happy that happened.
Now there are 4 of them.
It looks like Darkslash is also going straight to the cave, so...
Yeah. So in the scenario not taken, you have a different setup for Sabin's scenario. It is Sabin and Edgar's scenario. The bros are the ones who are storming the Imperial base.
Feels much more appropriate to me, but...
That's good.
Oh, that's lovely. I love that the panda is in this. While Fathlo is definitely a prolific speedrunner, Darkslash is also a bit of a speedrunner. He held the world record category. I don't think he does anymore, but he held the world record in a game called Panda Prince. And let me just tell you, if you haven't played Panda Prince, you do not know what you're missing.
Yeah, it is definitely one of the games of all time.
It is. It is. Yes, it is. I'm not sure I would necessarily call it a game, but yeah, that is one way to describe it.
It is technically
transcendental experience.
Or maybe an existential crisis, one of those two things. It's fine. But yeah, no, just a little bit of an aside there. But the panda that showed up on Fathlo's screen there, that was the panda from Panda Prince, and that was a Darkslash special.
And Kefka finds your lack of faith disturbing.
And so we get the Harvester knife again. Whoopee. Love Harvester. It's so much fun. I think Harvester added like 15 minutes to my runtime. I'm going to.
Oh, probably.
Disappreciate it at every moment. One fun thing about this scene is that there are no good weapons that any of the characters can use. It gives you every claw you can possibly think of, and nobody uses them. So
I would be curious to know if either of the runners end up unequipping the mithril knives and just going bare knuckle boxing with it. Not really adding a whole lot of appreciable damage with a mithril knife.
Something we haven't seen yet, I don't think, maybe I missed it, is so in the base game, Umaro is a berserker, and because we're swapping around all the things, the berserker tag actually gets randomized to a different character, and that character will go berserk on whatever command they actually have available. So you could, in theory, see something like a runic Zerker, which is everyone's favorite, or the ever popular GP Rain Zerker, where, you're not going to have any money left in that seat.
Yeah.
Seed already has money problems all the time because half the shops are double price and nothing gives any money very well. So, yeah, it would be extra fun to have a GP Rain Zerker.
The other, another thing that we probably won't see in this run, but is always fun when it does appear, is that we mentioned already that the commands get swapped around and that new commands can be synthesized from old commands, and that they get sort of flipped in and out as the game desires. It's also notable that the enemies can use a certain subset of the player commands, and should that command actually get flipped into one of those, the enemy will in fact use that command on you. So if you've ever wanted to get GP rained or something like that from an enemy set, that's your way of doing it. And yes, it does use your GP total, so in fact it can use your money.
Yes, it does. Yeah. So I think that the abilities that are usable by the enemies in the base game are GP rain, steal, and throw.
Also capture and jump.
They can use anything that doesn't require a menu to open.
Right. But if any of those get swapped into other things, your throwing enemies will, if throw got swapped to cure 2 or something, your enemies will all of a sudden be using cure 2 on you, and you'll just go, oh, that's very nice, but the intention was not nice. So Fathlo is cruising through the Imperial camp right now, it looks like. Definitely able to run away from a lot of battles here. It's good to see. The can't run flag is also part of the randomization too. Normally you can't run away from the MTech armors and the grunts and all that. But here you absolutely can, because these enemies have a completely different set of randomized flags to them. So it's taking advantage of that, running away from encounters that normally you wouldn't be able to.
So BC has a lot of different quality of life flags, and some of them are more subtle than others. Following up on the can't run concept, one of the things that some people may not be aware of is that there is different battle. So you probably heard different battle music, but each type of battle. So if there's a battle that is a can't run versus a battle that is a runnable, I believe the music is actually randomized to different things. So that's one way to identify that.
Bathlo Bazooka blitzkrieging all the way to the Phantom Forest.
Which is, by the way, also randomized. I'm not sure if that flag is turned on here, but the
Oh, it
pathway,
is.
the vanilla. Okay, the vanilla pathway will not get you where you want to go. You will go in circles. So that is another small little, quirk that gets thrown in to
You're
the
already
BC
pointing the wrong
randomization.
direction.
It's fine. They're fine.
Oh, wow. Lucky pull
that
from
was-
Faflo, though.
He immediately did exactly the right thing there, and that worked out for him nicely. Also, Edgar has a Moogle charm, so just zip straight through the forest, no big deal.
Yeah.
So you may be wondering why Fatho just decided to do a little dance there, sing a little song, something else. And as it turns out, because we're running in a textless mode, like we haven't seen any of the dialogue or anything like that, I believe that's done because you have to be able to catch up with the music. And so they put in a little bit of a, filler content there so that for technical reasons.
Yeah, if you don't have that dance, the actual Phantom Train theme never starts. It just continually does the little ticking noise that the tracks make. So, yeah, that's there just to make things actually function. Because, yeah, there are a lot of music cues that are tied to various things that you would think they probably shouldn't be tied to, and that's one of them.
Yeah, Final Fantasy VI is a rich and sophisticated game, with again no bugs at all. So
Never has
it's,
been. Never has
yeah,
been buggy.
it's a wonder to develop against.
Hooray for Harvester Knives. You love to see them. You can't even throw them away.
I do like that there's an Ohio Route 40 sign as one of our monsters. I don't quite understand where that. I don't know where that's from. Is that from Earthbound?
I would assume so.
Yes.
It looks like it's the same art
Yep.
style.
It is an Earthbound enemy.
Yeah, there's a very large pool of both standard RPGs and non-standard and other games that remonstrate one of the large modifications that BC has available to pull from. So you will be constantly surprised with the various sprites that show up there.
And if you don't like them, you can turn them off.
But if you're lucky, you'll get the accursed bee sprite for an enemy. The weird bee. It's a big enemy. It's just this massive, unnerving bee, and I have not seen it in months, and I thank every day that I don't, because the bees. But yeah, pretty much everything in this randomizer is modular, so if there's a feature that doesn't look like it would appeal to you, you can just kind of excise that feature without really affecting the rest of it. Like a bee with a stinger, except it's very disturbing. It's not the letter B, no. Save the letter.
Although I wouldn't be surprised if the letter B is probably also in there somehow, somewhere.
Bathlo taking some risks only having one save file. I know you wouldn't really want to go back to something prior to the Phantom Train because there's a lot of cutscene and a lot of activity to pull from there, but still would like to have a few options in case you randomly lock yourself into something that is either unwinnable or untenable speed-wise.
I'm feeling fairly confident about what's going on at this moment because he really is, and probably rightfully so. He's kind of moved through things very quickly.
Yeah.
That's not always a safe option with BC, obviously, but some of the flags that might make that a bad decision, I think, are not on. So there's certainly flags that will make the game really unfair.
Mm-hmm.
Both these runners run those flags, right? So they're probably, they have experience dealing with some of the less expected circumstances that they normally see and would only see in this type of run if they were just very unlucky.
Now, we had talked about the fact that one of the characters has an innate Moogle charm, and yet Fathlo got into a random encounter. Cecil, why is that?
For fun. It's just the heck of it. Nah. Beyond Chaos, there are certain flags that if you enable them, mostly the flags relating to formations and stuff, if you enable them, the Moogle charm is nerfed a little bit. It still dramatically reduces the random encounter rate, like very, very much so. But it doesn't completely outright eliminate them entirely, so that you still engage with the game, but it's still an interesting piece of strategy that you can use for particularly worrisome locations. So you may be weaker in combat because you're missing a critical relic, which doesn't seem like a lot, but trust me, I've had enough EXP eggs equipped that you really start to feel it if you only have one relic slot actually contributing to survivability or damage. So it makes you weaker in combat to have the Moogle Charm equipped, but it dramatically reduces the number of random encounters that you have to fight. So it gives you sort of this this decision to think about. Also, Phantom Train, great, love it. Best. This is gonna be a riot.
Oh no, the train isn't done dead, is it? Noodles.
Here's a little spoiler for you. It is also not vulnerable to instant death.
Fun.
Good.
Which was my strategy.
And you know why? Because we don't have the ability to suplex it, and therefore these runs are invalid.
They're all invalid. Fathlo, looking for something to break, looking for something to do.
Anything. You know, the funny thing is, I don't think they've tried to run. In some cases, I don't know if, Cecil, did you try to run and it didn't work?
I did not try to run. It's like 1 in 1,000 to be able to run from an enemy that's been designated as a boss, so chances are
it is possible.
It has regen?
Yep, it also has regen, which is great when you have very little offense.
Oh my goodness.
Attacks are very strong.
So this plays to Dark Slash because he probably is going to be able to chew through that HP pool a lot faster than Fathlo will. We might see some catch up here.
In fact, we're seeing it in real time right now.
Almost like we're watching this.
Yeah.
Fathlo has one advantage, though, in that he still has the Flame Shield. So if all else fails, he can break the Flame Shield and then mimic the Flame Shield break, and that will pretty much clear out the fight immediately.
Oh.
He's using his 1 price and half Phoenix Down that he bought.
So I always like to take the time during the Ghost Train fight to relate my first experience with Beyond Chaos, because it definitely highlights how fun it can be. In my first ever seed of BC, wow. Fathlo just getting incredibly lucky and pulling off a desperation attack, which honestly, the situation was pretty desperate, so it seemed appropriate. Keeping Fathlo ahead of Dark Slash, that's
oh my
goodness.
That is a thing that just happened.
Because
and then the fun part is that he has a dead party. So that's actually also possible. Don't get into a battle like that. It will not end well.
Oh, what a choice.
Oh my goodness.
And Fathlo has no way to heal himself yet. So if he gets into a battle, that's game over.
He should have a few tonics.
He has tonics.
Oh, wait. Oh, I see. He got never mind. He got
in the sleeping bag.
Yeah.
I forgot that Cyan, I guess, gets taken out of your party and then put back in.
Yeah,
oh
but
man,
it's still pretty grim. Thankfully, he can save after every encounter if he so chooses, but it's still brutal.
Okay, just to finish off my story. So I beat Phantom Train, or Ghost Train, and out of the Phantom Forest, and on my walk from the exit into the entrance to Barren Falls, I encountered Ghost Train again on the map, and I was like, "We, excuse me."
Yeah, we just did this.
Yeah, I don't believe this is where I'm supposed to see you again. So that's another thing that can happen where the bosses actually do get sort of randomly, rarely mixed into the encounter pool. So for instance, you might just see Welk show up in the middle of Kafka's Tower for any reason whatsoever.
Just a little guy.
Just the little guy.
Yeah. Can't
It's
fault
his
him for
home.
that. It's a little snail in the trash pile.
Are you too good for your home? Go to your home.
Oh, Fatho might want to go back to the inn. Yep, there he goes.
Yeah.
People who are dead. Ryan's just like carrying.
Oh
her
wait, I'm
around.
actually dead. I should probably fix that.
Yeah.
It's only a flesh wound.
Nothing 150 GP can't solve. What a highlight that was.
Well, that clutch backblade is going to prove to be the difference here, I think. I don't know that this is going to be immediately recoverable for Dark Slash.
I actually disagree. I think that because this runs a little longer, remember we're going past Kefka and Narsh. Well, Dark Slash takes another death there, but Dark Slash's advantage will start to compound itself because he'll continue to have a little bit of an advantage, and because the run is a little bit longer, I think that had he not taken that death there, then I thought he would still be kind of in place. But I think now, yeah, there's going to be a gap that's going to be hard for them to overcome.
Yeah,
This is Opera.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, no, go ahead, Susan.
The fun part about the Ghost Train fight is because he's not undead, you can use Life Shaver on him. But Ghost Train special inflicts silence, which prevents Life Shaver from being possible. The other fun thing you could do is proc Harvester to cure silence by attacking yourself with the Mithril. I never did that, but that's an option. Dark Slash is now doing what I did, which is leveraging the Berserk spell on the reasonably powerful Pablo 5, because not only did Terra join with 5 levels above the average starting at level 8, but Cyan also joins at 5 levels above the average, so I believe he's level 15 for Dark Slash, which is significant.
We're using Zerker strats. Are we playing Free Enterprise and I just missed it?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Quad.
This is the true bane of my existence, Harvester again, because you're using Berserk strats, it's Harvester all day. You cannot afford to take off the Mithril Knife, because that extra damage absolutely matters.
In Dark Slash's practice seat that he was streaming last night, Ghost Train had Megazerk, I think, swapped in for the probably Flash Rain, and it was the first thing that it did. So of course, Dark Slash got into the battle, and the first thing it does is make it Megazerk, which of course you lose control of all your characters. So he definitely went in 3 or 4 times just to be able to get the remedy off in time. Or Revivify, excuse me.
So I think Dark Slash is going to be good to go here. Did just healing.
Acid Rain claims another victim.
It's on rails now.
The K-Mall.
Yeah, I get it.
No!
More Harvester, giving the enemy more turns.
Come on, Pablo 3. You can do it. Yes!
Hey! And the skin of his teeth, not quite as close, but it was, in a sense, a lot closer.
Yeah.
In a while. Now
So
he
turning the
gets to-
attention back to Fathlo over there, one of the other things that Beyond Chaos ends up doing to avoid soft locks is Pablo's 7. Did we already have a 6?
No.
I think we skipped one. That's fine.
He skipped a Pablo.
We can't tell the Pablos apart anymore. It's fine. Just give them random numbers.
But one of the things that Beyond Chaos does to avoid soft locks here is normally you have to steal from the merchants in Locke's scenario in order to take their clothes. It's not a guarantee to have the steal command, and so all Beyond Chaos does is say, well, you kill the merchant and take his clothes instead. It's a little more brutal.
Yeah, he's a very small merchant, so it's more like a squishing.
That's the BC equivalent of on shot first, just so that we're clear on that.
All right, and here we go.
Shadow! So we have Lock and Cellus and Shadow in this particular scenario.
Not the normal arrangement, but it'll do just fine. Maybe. Oh, we do have a Pablo 6. It's Shadow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The guy who gets named here and not at a more usual time.
We can still name them earlier, I think, because you can still talk to them in South Figaro before the scenarios. But yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, I just normally am used to naming him. I don't name him in South Figaro. I normally name him at the start of Sabin's scenario.
Phantasm. Or... what a weak skill.
It's not targeting. That's all I can say.
So Phantasm is actually kind of powerful if you're running permadeath. There are a lot of really interesting ways you can utilize that skill to eliminate really difficult enemies because I believe nobody's immune to it.
Correct, yeah. It's not only is it impossible to be immune to it, but it even overwrites auto regen and replaces it with the Phantasm's HP leak effect. So
Right.
it can be pretty brutal.
Yeah, but in a speedrunning setting, it is wholly unviable to use.
Too slow. You might be able to employ it during a longer boss fight if you have a really bad team, which kind of describes this scene a little bit.
A little bit.
Honestly, you really feel seasoned.
I feel dead inside after the Phantom Train fight.
Ooh, float. Nice.
That'll be useful for when the Magnitude 8 guys show up again. If they do.
That actually highlights a couple of other things that show up in Beyond Chaos a lot more than say like vanilla or a different randomizer. There's a couple of statuses in the game that show up maybe in one or two different attacks and usually in late game. So like freeze and what's the one that and charm and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
These are all unblockable. And they're meant to be late game sort of troublemakers for players. They can show up pretty much anywhere in this game, and both the enemy and the player can use them quite well to their advantage.
Oh, he's actually, yeah, he found a range that uses Quake, and because he has float, he's actually going to use it. That's awesome.
Everybody always dunks on Quake. Here you go.
The stars have aligned.
It's all fun and games until Tunnel Armor actually has auto reflect. So either way. Actually, is Quake reflectable?
Nope.
No. Okay, never mind.
Not without a junction.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he has Repel Earth, it could happen, and that would look probably very strange.
And by the way, wait. So I think the enemies also have Memento Mori, or they also have junctions.
They don't have Memento Mori. They can't have a relic, but they can have innate junctions. That is a possibility.
Okay.
So it can achieve the same effect. Like I said, Quake seems to be working just fine.
Pablo 6 gets nuked by a little zappy, but it ultimately doesn't matter because a 700-point Quake took him down quite a bit. Just punch him down the rest of the way, and Tunnel Armor is down, but wait, there's more.
Is he not gonna... Oh, does he have a tent?
Nope.
He's gonna have to go back to the Healing Spring or forfeit Shadow's gear. Oh wow, he's actually just gonna go for it. That's
Yep.
crazy. I was expecting him to just walk back in.
I get Pablo 7 has the tools command, or is it just Flash as like, okay. That's highly useful, definitely in a run like this. So if you can find the tools, of course, that's not always a guarantee.
Tools is a pretty coveted skill in Beyond Chaos anyway, because Confuse is highly, highly useful as a deterrent against really, really overpowered monsters using their overpowered skills against you. If you turn them around the other direction, they'll use them against themselves, and all will be copacetic. One of the many ways in which you can utilize the tools at your disposal to solve really, really difficult situations in the game.
Yeah. Drill and Chainsaw tend to be very popular in vanilla. In BC, the Noise Blaster is probably the most usable tool. All short during boss battles, but just in general across the entire game, Noise Blaster is probably the MVP.
It is also possible to have the tools command not be randomized into the seed, so it wouldn't appear. But if that's the case, then all of the tools will then usually break for something maybe not useful, but it is the items themselves are unbreakable, so you can continuously use them. I believe that's the rule for tools.
Yeah, if tools is not in the seed, they're guaranteed to be breakable for a spell. They will most likely be consumed if you do so, though.
Okay, so they are consumables. I thought that they may not be unbreakable, or is it? And there's a higher chance that they're unbreakable?
I don't think the chance of unbreakability is affected at all. It's just guaranteed to have an item break, but aside from that, everything is the same as anything else that gets item break.
They do tend to be a little cheaper to purchase and available to purchase than most of the other things that would end up being breakable. So you'd end up with like 86 noise blasters or such and such if they all broke for something useful like level 5 Doom, level question mark Pearl, etc.
Funny you say that.
Well, when you use an item break, it actually overrides the targeting requirements for it too. So when you use level 5 Doom via a break, it does not respect the level requirement for the use of the skill on the enemy. It just says if you're instant death vulnerable, you die.
Yeah, so it's a great way to take care of that monster box that Dark Slash encountered at the start of the game that he reset on. And get a couple tiger fangs for your trouble. Just theoretically.
Theoretically.
Alright, well, Fathlo is starting to come up to the end of... I think that's his third scenario.
Yep.
So he'll be moving on to the big Kefka and Arsh battle.
The gap between Fathlo and Dark Slash in this moment is actually pretty similar to what it was around the Phantom Forest, too. I don't think we've seen a real gap closure just yet. That may change as we approach the Zozo segment, because you'll start to see the difficulty of the enemies increase. But right now, Fathlo is very handily in the lead.
Yeah, in this particular seed, it may actually be difficult to overcome this deficit because both players remember that Edgar has an innate Google charm. Then everything past Kefka and Arsh becomes a lot simpler. Let's just see. Here it doesn't matter though because the encounters aren't random, so they're just going to be selecting based on just how much possible firepower you can get here.
They're going to take the typical speedrun strats here and just, front load one party and sneak past all of the enemies that are coming up and go straight down into Kefka. In a normal run or in a permadeath run or something like that, you probably would take your time and actually fight all of the enemies because there's some potential for EXP and rages and other things that you might want to find. But here, speed is of the essence, so we're just going to run right through all of this.
I did see a little bit of consideration there. I saw Fathlo taking a look. Oh no!
Pablo 1 has no gear.
Oh.
It's all on other characters right now, and he sold a lot of it too. So
Yeah.
that might be a problem. If the run ended here, then it would not be that big of a deal. But he's still got a bit more to go. And I don't think Edgar's gonna be actually that great for encounters, so might be having a hard time dealing a lot of damage when he doesn't have float.
I see we've knighted Kefka, which seems like a terrible idea.
That's Sir Kefka to you.
My apologies.
There are a couple of things that Fathlo purchased in the Returner's hideout that is actually proving to be pretty major. Those 2 bolt edges that he purchased just paid some serious dividends. That's 1,700 damage that he just did to Kefka right there.
Now he's got the shurikens from the guards in Sabin's scenario, so that'll help the rest, because none of the shops have been selling shurikens so far, so that's pretty much the only source of them.
Wow, it made very quick work of that fight. That was very clean, very nicely done, even with a nigh onto naked Terra character.
One thing that we hadn't brought up until this point, but I just got reminded because you may have seen it at the end there. So things like rages and dances and lores, of course, but that was not really changed. Is that once you have the encounter, that is it's automatically listed. So for instance, you don't have to do things like going to the Veld and doing leap, and nor do you have to worry about anything like having Mog in the party to learn dance.
Yeah. You don't have to have your lore user in the party to learn a lore. Once you see it happen, you just learn it. Yeah, same with dances. Also, with the rages, you don't have the leap command, so you don't necessarily have to go to the Veld and use leap. Once you beat the enemy, you actually get that particular rage for the enemy. You have to defeat the enemy, though. I think you have to win the battle.
Yeah, you have to win the battle in a normal way.
Yeah.
Actually, unlike rage, but yeah, leap is always replaced in this flag set to make room for, because leap is now a redundant command in this flag set, so we replace it always so that you get more random in your random.
Yeah, in theory there's 255 available slots for commands, but in actuality there's only about 30. So taking leap out actually provides for a bit more randomization to get shoved in.
Right, so now Fathlo gets to, for really the first time in the seed, he gets to construct his own party. So this is a fun little bit for the last segment, is that now you get to weigh the pros and cons of each character and select the ones that should be able to progress through fastest. So hopefully he remembers to put Edgar in the party here, or else that might be a significant problem. Slash, meanwhile, weighing up his options in the more fight-centric portion of the run, which is the Kefka and Arch battle that Fathlo's already passed through. And maybe he'll handle it roughly the same way.
Yeah, you see this pretty commonly. A lot of speedrun tactics are utilized throughout the community. Some of the community members really enjoy taking as many of these fights as they can for levels. You might get a level on each of the people in your party throughout all of these fights. Maybe more than that if you're lucky enough to have these fights give you a decent amount of experience. But most people just do this, where they wait for everyone to pass by them, and then they beeline right to Kefka.
So Fathlo doing due diligence here. I didn't notice did he actually include Edgar? I didn't quite see it.
Yes.
Okay.
And Fathlo is not interested in the Narsh treasury, and I do not blame him on that one.
Yeah, he sees that the Moogle charm is present, and he's just gonna cook. He's just gonna probably beeline through it, start to finish.
Now, there is one thing that I will point out over in Dark Slash's stream, is that we don't have our thrower, which means that the damage output of this particular party is a lot lower than it was for Fathlo's party. I think Dark Slash is accustomed to constructing his long-term party in this fight, and Fathlo went with speed first and constructed the long-term party after the fact.
Oh boy, Berserk and then Muddle. Good job.
Ugh.
I wonder if he didn't realize that he has shurikens. Maybe he could have also maybe thought that, oh, I don't have any throwables, because you don't really have any throwables in this seed except for the shurikens.
I'm thinking maybe like experience or magic points, but none of that actually matters at this stage in the game. So
yeah,
I'm not sure what's going on there. He is in fact using free enterprise Zerg strat, so good on it.
I actually really enjoy this strategy, using Berserk to increase the amount of damage that you're doing physically.
It's definitely for those people who are familiar with the free enterprise randomizer and Zerg strats there. Like it's not quite the same almost OP like strategy there, because you don't get faster necessarily, but you still get a nice damage boost from it, and it's an underutilized strategy at least in the Final Fantasy VI side of things.
Well, one of the reasons why it's such an important thing in Final Fantasy IV is the way that ATB is structured in Final Fantasy IV, because you don't necessarily have the ability to just switch between party members in 4, whereas in 6 you do. ATB is a little more measured, a little more consistent, and so you don't necessarily get the almost double turns here like you do from Final Fantasy IV, but the increase in damage and the lack of having to throw in an input definitely helps out, and Dark Slash actually did a lot better in that fight than I expected.
I also picked up
somewhere.
That's helped a lot.
Yeah.
I think in general, though, most BC players are adverse to losing control of their characters. Like it's a very sort of well thought out thing in free enterprise, but in Beyond Chaos, the more control you have in general, the better off you are, the less risky it is. So
Yeah.
I think that's probably why they don't let that happen as often. So as you saw there, the Berserker got muddled, and that could very easily go south very quickly.
Yeah. Muddle is low-key one of the most dangerous things in Beyond Chaos specifically, just because there are so many overpowered skills that you need to cultivate and set up strategically in order to overcome some of the stronger encounters that you see. And when those get turned around against you, well...
Now, one of the more brutal things is that a lot of the balancing between players and enemies, there's an asymmetry in that enemies tend to survive with a lot of health, whereas players tend to survive with a lot of defense. So when you start to employ things that ignore defense in your strategies, it means that they'll do fine against the enemies, but they're devastating against the players.
Yeah.
On the flip side, if you decide to employ things that function through HP, such as fractional damage, those tend to not be such a big deal if they get reversed on your characters, but when you're using them against enemies, as long as they're being employed correctly, they're devastating. So another thing to consider is that, yeah, fractional damage is pretty good in this game, in this randomizer, for several reasons, and that's one of them.
And as predicted, Fathlo is just burning through Zozo.
As he burns through that, do we have time for a quick donation?
We absolutely do.
All right, so we have $20 from One Free Fits with "It's a terrible night to have a curse, but it is a wonderful Saturday to add curses to the PK Scramble Run. Who would want to see enemies, bosses, and Geiga stats boosted with more dangerous attack scripts and/or mean surprises?" And thank you very much, One Free Fits, for that. The Burn Children's Fund will enjoy that greatly.
Excellent.
And Fathlo now up at Daddy Luma. Probably gonna push through this really quickly unless something really egregious comes out of Daddy Luma.
Well, I'm not seeing a whole lot of damage output here.
Daddy Luma also doesn't have that much HP. I think it's mostly just kind of a gatekeeper to not prevent progression for the most part. Nothing incredibly dangerous, and a lot of their skill, like their biggest threat is throw, which they may still have, but could also have been randomized out.
Yeah, throw is present in the seed, so it should still be unmodified when it comes to how it functions in Dataluma's script. One thing that is notable, I guess, is that Pablo 7 has some sort of relic with double time stapled to her forehead, so she gets to take turns twice as fast, but all her damage output is cut in half, so her flash is very, very weak, even if she gets to use it somewhat frequently. Good item set from Dataluma, though. All of that was just completely pointless. And he's immune to his own regen, so...
Nice.
Perfect. Oh boy,
Ooh.
Not perfect. Okay, very, very lucky there, though.
So I wanted to take a moment to point out another quality of life feature that you may have noticed, or may have seen a couple of things show up and been like, that's weird, didn't see that before. There's particularly in battle, you may have seen that there are white numbers and green numbers, which you probably expect, but there's also blue and red. Another quality of life feature that was introduced somewhat recently is the distinction between magic and health damage.
Wonderful.
Interesting.
See, so what is happening here?
Dataluma's ads have picked up the dance command somehow and are using the dance command. Windsong's damage background was randomized to be Final Kefka's damage background. That is wonderful. Alright, and here we go. Put them down.
And we're through. Yeah, and then maybe one other thing, just in that same vein, is you may have seen fail and null also show up, particularly when it comes to things that inflict status, and that's another quality of life feature, which basically indicates whether or not something is immune to, or whether or not a status was not successfully applied due to a check somewhere else. So just a couple of things you may not notice or may have noticed and we're not quite sure what they were, since they're not represented in the base game at all.
Right, so now Faflo is well on his way to the opera, which will be the destination of the seed for today. That's good stuff.
So yeah, and definitely keep an eye out. We're not quite done with the surprises or the options on our randomizer. The opera is going to be perhaps a little different from what you remember. That's the running theme here, and so just keep an eye out.
Are we gonna have a Chrono Trigger theme here?
Yeah. Marley and Robo? My dear Robo, I want you for my collection. Is that what that said?
Sure is.
Alright, well, unfortunately we will not be actually recruiting Setzer in this run. But we do get to call him Pablo 9, apparently.
Who was Pablo 8?
I think he actually did skip this one this time.
Yeah. That's okay.
Oh, too many Pablos.
It's the final Pablo. Cue synthesizer music.
And
You're welcome.
Alright, meanwhile, Dark Slash is going through his Denaluma fight. Oh, wow, that's a strong physical.
Yeah.
Falcon almost just got like one shot. And Harvester. Yippee!
Yay!
Love Harvester. It's so much
I
fun.
really appreciate the Berserk strategy. I really, really do.
And that absolutely has nothing to do with the fact that you're a free enterprise player at all.
Well, yes. No. It's just not a strategy that you see very often in Beyond Chaos, and it does highlight one of the more interesting aspects of this randomizer, being that some of the more sideways sort of strategies end up being viable in certain circumstances.
Yeah, the sky's the limit when it comes to interactions in Beyond Chaos, so it's really a matter of... Oh, here comes the Mithril Blade. Oh, gosh.
Oh.
Alright, well, thanks, Denaluma. Yeah.
Yeah. And now Dark Slash is a spectator. Pablo 5 is going to try to get it done.
That is brutal.
Yeah. So how many attacks is it before Dataluma is scripted to throw? 4? 3.
I think it's 4 fight commands or 2 magic commands.
Okay.
Which is weird because only Celeste has magic at this point, so... Pablo 5 is alive, but not for... Oh. What?
Oh boy. Amazing. Amazing.
good.
Just BC things. Just BC things.
So that's funny. There is a small chance that Dataluma can use dang near every item in the game, and whenever you use an item, you break it, and one of the flag sets here allows items to be breakable for things beyond magic commands, and that particular item broke for Spiraler.
Which is a very, very good attack that everybody uses all the time.
All the time.
Yeah, it's one of those, well-programmed, bug-free types of things.
Yeah, so Spyware
Yeah,
is
so
supposed to be a last resort healing option. It is far and away the strongest healing skill in the game in terms of raw power, and it heals basically every status ailment in the game. But not only does it kill the user, it also completely ejects the user from battle so that you can no longer revive that character for the rest of the combat, which that makes it terrible.
they must return to their people. That's
Yeah.
part of the deal.
Well, we have a new story at the opera on Fathlow's screen.
I'm featuring Cyan because he didn't show up in the
Ah, yes.
Also, again, I always have to point this out whenever I do these types of things. The conductor in this game is the star of the show. He goes
hard.
so hard.
Think of the back muscles.
Like, it doesn't matter that this is a slow melodic song. No, we're going full hardcore black death metal here.
Yeah, he's conducting at like 180 beats per minute. It's so fast.
Yeah, maybe a cut time.
Yes, as we were saying, the story has seen a few changes. There's lots of different themes that can be inserted here. Also, the voices are modified to be more appropriate to the characters that are inserted. Is there anything? I don't think there's anything else I can point out specifically, but
Not at this juncture.
yeah.
There are a couple sprites in the future that may be changed.
Yes.
Yeah, that one's always a fun one.
We're gonna find out whether or not Maria lifts. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe there'll be
Something like that.
some buff exhibition here. Maybe there'll be some homicide. You never really know.
Yep.
Yeah.
But for right now, we're going to enjoy the story, the classic love story between Cyan and Robo.
It's
The
one
guy
for
who
the
has
ages.
no idea how technology works, and Robo.
Is enamored.
It's a very familiar and common trope in medieval bard storytelling, I believe.
Have robots from 300 years in the future.
Correct.
I think it's funny though how Locke says that ribbon suits you to Robo because it's an important plot point in Chrono Trigger that he gets a ribbon.
Oh, that's right.
It suits you. It gives +3 speed and 10 magic defense.
That's right.
Man, Johnny of Rolante.
Oh
Yes.
yes.
I love it.
Man.
I love it.
Oh, Robo, Marley, and Johnny.
I mean,
Classic opera.
I don't think you can get any more classic than that.
You really can't. You really can't. Now, while we're changing aspects of the story, this particular opera segment is still the same selections, same everything. Same dance required.
One day I'm gonna go and
just randomize the
Yeah.
NPC to move random spots.
I feel like it would be an easy thing for me to do to go in and make a flag that would change the dialogue options, and that'll really throw some people off.
It's just like
I want random dance.
That's a lot harder.
Yeah, but I
randomized
want the
between
random dance.
steps.
It's like, why is he going up the
Yeah,
stairs?
The game script. I mean, I don't know. I could change the game script. We could do that.
This sounds obnoxious. Force people to read the script. Yeah. You have to read and memorize the script just like it's 1994.
That's right. That's right.
Not that I would know.
Remember that I actually wrote down everything the first time I played. And I think I still messed up the first time. I'm not what you call a good gamer.
It's a rite of passage, I think. And
Say that.
turns into a statue.
We are about to
Do a big
yeet a goddess.
Outstanding. Robo is a very powerful entity, and so
Mm.
the movement of a statue is not outside of his purview, but still, off the top rope?
It's quite the statement of religion, I'll be honest with you.
It is.
And
Whoosh.
whee! There is one unlucky audience member in the stands that is going to be having a very bad day very soon.
I would like to
Oh,
think that the conductor caught it and tossed it aside and continued without missing a beat.
No, he
Maybe
deflected
that.
it with his conductor.
Lands on his head like a hat.
I mean,
Everyone's staring at it. It's like, what? Oh, yes, we absolutely do.
Because we have an anonymous donating $50 and $50 to naming Golden Sun Lost Age playable character to Jack. Thank you for the event and fundraiser. Now, I'm curious to which Jack that is. There are a lot of Jacks in gaming.
Just name them all Pablo. It'll be fine.
Handsome Jack.
See, my thought is Jack from Final Fantasy Stranger in Paradise, only because I had to play him during the Tournament of Champions that we ran. At which point, then my comment is chaos.
Yeah, as it must be. All right, so we're coming up pretty quickly here on our denouement in the opera, and Fathos got probably about a 2 or 3 minute, maybe a little bit more lead. The one difference maker could be so that you have to navigate in the rafters, move your way around, these rats that move going back and forth, and it's possible that Fathlo gets caught by more of them, and if they have the can't run flag, or if he manages to trigger their regeneration, then that could allow Dark Slash to catch up a little bit. So it may be closer than you expect, though Fathlo still does have a rather decisive lead at the moment.
And if Cursed Encounters is on, those rat fights aren't necessarily just beholden to that particular formation, too. There are other formations that can appear, depending. And that could also play a factor into it. Yeah,
and that was why Magnitude 8 was present on the river, I'm pretty sure. I think that was the double Zombone formation that did that. So...
So in other words, rule number 1.
Yep. Always be floating.
Please get your Angie ducks out in chat.
Whoops.
We remember to tell the runners to turn off their alerts, but not the commentators.
I thought I turned that silent, but apparently it doesn't work on alarms. So yeah, we've got 5 rats to dodge and 1 octopus to mince.
In the mood for calamari. I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah. Over a light bed of rice.
And another statue. Oh, that's where it ended up.
Yeah.
Robo just left it under the balcony.
Threw it up, but it didn't come down.
There's well, either that or it's a different goddess statue, which means that the third one's floating around somewhere. And I'm really curious as to where that might show up.
On top of the opera, scowling.
I am the knight.
It'd be really funny if it just landed on top of Locke whenever they, finish the battle. Just ends. That's how we end the seed.
Yep, the game's over.
Retreat to the airship and just punches a hole in the canopy.
Howdy, Cod.
Yep. So Fathlo immediately running into one of them. I'm not sure. Oh, and a second one. I think he might just be pushing forward here.
Ooh,
This is a can't run though. is he can't run it, and it is one of the rat formations. So if he's not careful, he can trigger a restock there.
And he doesn't have the greatest damage output with this party right now. Lost most of the ability for AoE damage. Doesn't really know his rages particularly well because he's been going hard. But
he does have Harvester procs, though.
he does have Harvester proc.
Oh.
Ooh.
4 level 2 spells. Yay!
Death here would be a big game changer.
Yeah.
Because Stathlo would have to do the entire opera over again.
Well, he doesn't have to let the game over, or he doesn't have to reset. He can do the strategy where he just kind of keeps going, because the death in the Opera House doesn't give you a game over immediately, so you will have to redo the cutscene where Ultros kind of blabs about his plan a little bit, but it'll still definitely open the door for Darkslash to take the lead. Oh, and that'll be a wipe probably.
Oh. Yep, that's a wipe. Wow.
That is
brutal.
Unfortunate.
I think I might have commentator cursed him.
So with that wipe, Darkslash has actually gained a ton of time right here.
Yeah, we're going to be pretty close to being even.
He's got the same party. I wasn't really paying attention to their party choices, but there's a character with an innate wall ring, and that would help out a lot.
Yeah. So Fathlo's going to have to rely on a little bit more speed-runny dodging know-how right here. Because that rat fight is nasty. Fire 2. I don't know what script that's mimicking, but it is ugly. It's like Slam Dancers?
It's not Slam Dancer, because Slam Dancer only uses spells when it's the last type of enemy in the fight. So it's not that. It's probably not Lich, because that's a bit far out, and also uses level 3 spells. It's probably not Ghost, because Ghost is a little early and doesn't use Firewall until later. It could be something like Templar, maybe? So he just immediately gets the encounter again, but he's a bit more methodical about it and even has a side attack to help him out. I'm surprised he didn't take the time to look at his rages after that. Pretty significant wipe, though. Ooh, Demi as well? That's fun.
Yeah.
Because one advantage that the players have in this seed is still being a relatively high level and having a relatively decent amount of HP, but Demi cuts through that. Ah, he can run now that he's killed the little shell dudes.
So the can't run flag is actually attributed to enemies and not necessarily just enemy formations. So you eliminate one type of enemy that has the can't run flag, and you can run.
That's why we're seeing, players constantly trying to run, even though it doesn't seem like they can't, because as soon as they figure it out, then they know they can get away with minimal sort of collateral damage.
Harvester, yay!
Yay!
Final Fantasy VI Beyond Chaos is brought to you by Harvester.
One of these spells of all time.
It sure is a skill.
Yeah. 5 out of 5
That's
players
more like
agree.
a skill issue.
Okay, so there's Fire 1. The ominous Fire 1.
Alright, so I'd say Darkslash is now about a minute behind Fathlo, so if he's able to dodge...
Might be less than that.
2? Yeah, maybe
this
less
is
than
the
that.
second rat encounter.
Oh, he gets it runnable. That's pretty big.
Oh.
Just chasing that rat down.
Oh,
now he's gonna have to...
chased him!
Oh boy, now there's a Zozo encounter in here as well, with an Imp special. Oh, he's got a Warp Stone handy. That's big.
Ooh,
Large.
Saving that in his pocket for
that's
a while.
big.
Oh,
Oh, he got
Just got
nipped.
caught by the last mount.
Okay, but this one's not a pincer. It's not a guaranteed pincer.
Okay, so Faflo is through.
He's got one Imp in the team.
I wonder if he has a green cherry. Nope.
Nope,
Doesn't look
he's
like
got
it.
his Flame Shield unequipped. I think he's intending to burn Ultros down.
Yep.
It will not quite work as intended, but maybe it will still be strong enough.
Yeah,
He's expecting one.
the conceit in this fight is that there isn't actually one Ultros. There's actually several Ultroses, and each of them have their own separate HP pool. So when you defeat Ultros, you're actually just defeating one of the ones because it just switches between the various positions in the formation. So while it seems like Ultros has a lot of HP in this part, they actually you can burn through it real quickly if you can get one big burst of damage off.
Unfortunately, Dark Slash is discovering the pain of the Zilchai.
And he definitely targeted the other enemy type in order to try and run away, but he picked the wrong one.
Yeah.
Bad luck there.
So unless Faflo takes a wipe to this fight, it is pretty much just a lock here.
And also a Pablo too.
Nice.
Alright, well, let's see how it goes. He'll break the Flame Shield. Ultros is probably not floating.
787. That's not a ton.
It's 1,000. That'll do it.
Well, didn't
not
quite. But he is definitely waiting to mimic it again. Goo pick.
Ooh, that could have been nasty if it was the wrong special.
Can't do that on stream.
What an unlucky day!
Right.
And time.
Get your GGs out in chat for Faflo.
Oh.
Faflo with a 146.45. Very nice. Ta-da!
Dark Slash is going to try this one over again.
Now, it is worth noting just how close Dark Slash was relative to Faflo, even after all of the differences and the wipes, the monster in a boxes. Dark Slash definitely benefited from a lot more of the thoroughness when it came to collecting throwables, opening chests, that sort of thing. Ultimately, Faflo won through with a little bit of luck and a lot of aggression. Very nicely done.
Ultimately, BC is, it is always going to be throwing something surprising at you, and in some cases, it's just a little bit of luck in terms of the things that you see or you manage to, have a situational awareness for. So, both of those playstyles are perfectly viable, and in some cases, it's just kind of the luck of the draw.
Let's see, Dark Slash focusing on the Zilchai now.
He too has not researched his rages at all, which is kind of a little surprising. I think he's kind of, if he wipes again, he'll probably look at them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be a devastating fire too. He has less HP than Faflo did, so he can't survive one multi-target except for Pablo 5.
It also didn't have the fortune of getting into a side attack either.
Yeah. Yeah, but if Dark Slash had managed to avoid, so like he also got caught by that first rat that was just kind of hanging out there. If he managed to avoid that could have gone a lot differently.
A really smart move right there, though, is saving after the first wipe, just in case you wipe again, so that you don't necessarily game over. You can just reset and then come right back to this, like, post-first wipe thing, so you don't have to watch all of the cutscenes all over again, but you get more chances.
And we get to watch the opera again. We do it for the fans. Until, someone with a stage hook comes by and tells us to leave.
See if Dark
I still use
Slash.
those, right?
Got some time, I think. See if Dark Slash can actually dodge some of these rats. One of the hallmarks of some of the shorter FF6 runs that actually see the end of the game is dodging some of these encounters, dodging the rats, dodging the fireballs in the burning house in Thamasa.
Yeah.
Alright, well,
In
he's
this
got
case,
that
though,
one.
the rats are all positioned in ways to be annoying.
Yeah, the earlier ones are definitely the worst ones, so if he can get through this fight, he'll have a decent shot.
Well, let's just hope there's not a multi-target fire too, because that.
Yeah.
Does... I mean, and Fatlo can just start going through the Magitech factory. I mean, why not?
Well, there's a multi-target fire, so Pablo 2 goes down.
Oh. Okay, first Zilchai's out.
Much in the way of elemental protection in this seed that I've seen, or maybe we just haven't used it. But that's a pretty critical thing.
Well, there was a flame shield that
That's
he
true.
broke against Vargas.
Assuming, of course, that the flame shield could be equipped.
Ooh. I'm gonna say, as much
Yep,
as I
that
would
was
love to
good.
help us see finish here, I do have to be the one to come in with the stage hook and say we're a little behind. We've got a winner on the race, and we got to keep going.
See, I told you they still have it. Yeah, that's fine. I think that Dark Slash is
Oh, yeah.
probably ready to call it anyway.
Yeah, that's a really rough encounter.
Yeah.
We wanted to give him at least the one more try while we were still over, but yeah, we got to get going with the what is it, the quad rando with Metroid and Zelda ones and Metroid and Zelda 3s all in one.
Oh
It's
my
gonna be
God.
crazy, and we gotta start getting set up for that.
Understood.
Thank you though for being over. This was wonderful to watch, and we got many lovely donations for the World Children's Fund in there at the same time. So we're gonna just do a quick set back to get set up, and we'll be right back.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.